I'm Stephanie, and welcome to Wine Club. This is a playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender was unfortunately my first Christmas read of the 2024 holiday season, and that was A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. So I keep trying to find a good romance read and figured my little Grinchy heart might be won over by this Christmas romance. Let's see why I thought that. Bea Hobbs, aka Bianca Von Honey, has a successful career as a plus-size adult film star. With a huge following and 2 supportive moms, she couldn't ask for more. But when her favorite producer casts her to star in a Christmas movie he's making for the squeaky clean Hope Channel, Bea's career is about to take a more family-friendly direction. Forced to keep her work as Bianca under wraps, Bea quickly learns this is a task a lot easier said than done. Though it all becomes worthwhile when she discovers her co-star is none other than childhood crush Nolan Shaw, an ex-boy band member in desperate need of a career rehab. Nolan's promised his bulldog manager to keep it zipped up on set, and he will if it means he'll be able to provide a more stable living situation for his sister and mom. But things heat up quickly in Christmas Notch, Vermont, when Nolan recognizes his new co-star from her closed doors account. Oh yeah, he's a member. Now Bea and Nolan are sneaking off for quickies on set and keeping their new relationship secret from the Hope Channel's execs. Things only get trickier when the reporter who torpedoed Nolan's singing career comes snooping around and takes an instant interest in mysterious newcomer Bea. And if Bea and Nolan can't keep their off-camera romance behind the scenes, then this merry little meet cute might end up on the cutting room floor. So before I get into it, I do want to say there will be spoilers in this review. If you want a spoiler-free version of this review, please check out my What I Read in December video. And also, my opinions are solely about the book and not about the authors themselves. I'm sure they are great people. But if you haven't already figured out, since this got a wine club episode, I hate to spoil it. I didn't really like this. I like the premise of it. An adult film star wanting to play it straight and be in basically a Hallmark-esque Christmas movie? That is awesome. But no one is professional on this set to help Bea with that goal. She has to keep her alternative career under wraps, as do all the members of the film crew coming from the more adult side of entertainment. So we have this character Teddy, who's the producer. So he produces under the moniker Uncle Ray Ray's on the adult side, but he also wants to sell this Christmas movie. Something happens to the originally casted main actress, and so Bea is able to step in, but they're also missing some other crew, so Teddy brings in some of his other friends that he has worked with. But no one seems to know that they have to keep quiet about this. All the other film crew members are dropping hints or talking about people being naked or doing makeup work on other parts of the body. Surely someone from the more Hope Channel side of things would be like, what the hell are you talking about? This is just a regular movie. It really annoyed me how none of these people seem to care about protecting Teddy and his dream of making this clean movie when he's obviously been very good to them in the past. Bea goes out of her way to say that Teddy is one of the better producers she's worked with in kind of sometimes an unethical work style. So she seems to really like him. And a lot of the people that also come from the adult film side just seem very unprofessional. There's this character, Luca, and I was not charmed by him or Angel in the slightest just because they were friends with Bea and work with her in her other capacity. Luca, who's a costumer, makes Nolan, who's the hero, work on his own costumes just because he doesn't like him. What? Nolan is the co-star of the movie, and he's expected to sew his own costumes? No, Luca would be fired immediately. It's so unprofessional. And of course, Luca is written to be this lovable but flaky character. But I just wanted to make a voodoo doll of him and poke it with his own sewing needles. Again, I was not charmed by him in the slightest, and a lot of these characters are kind of that way. Now, I do have to say, Bee and Nolan share the blame here. They're not out of the woods on acting unprofessionally. They're both trying to clean up their images, and yet they still go to a strip club and take a picture with a dancer while she's topless. Come on, guys. You're celebrities. You know that even if you ask nicely for her to keep that private, you know that picture will be shared and end up online. And spoiler alert, it does, which kind of blows the movie to smithereens. For these two that are so dependent on making sure that their images stay clean, they don't really work that hard at it. So I can't really buy into how important these stakes are because our main characters don't really seem to give a flying fuck. They're too busy fucking each other. So besides that dumb decision that would bite them in the ass later, I actually really liked our heroine Bee. She's funny, she's friendly, and she's very easy to like and root for. She's proud of who she is, and she takes her jobs seriously. I can support a girl like that. I really liked her. Until the end. Then she makes some questionable choices. But our hero is supposed to be this bad boy band member. I can't drink anymore if I have to say that line again. But I also don't really get that vibe from him. For someone who slept his way through stardom and kind of just enjoyed the ride, Nolan comes off as very down to earth and not exactly innocent, but kind of shy and quieter than I would expect his personality or his character to be. I get people are obviously multifaceted, but it felt like the authors really wanted him to be this boy with a heart of gold, but who happened to rise to fame and has been lying about his persona, but then also not because he's very adventurous in the bedroom. So there was this weird juxtaposition that I didn't fully understand Nolan. And for them to get together, their romance was fine, but it really seemed to be built on lust. They wanted to bang, and they do. Good for them. But beyond the physical attraction, I don't really know what they liked about each other. I also really didn't like that both of them were fans of each other before they met. And that it felt a little weird and kind of fulfilling a parasocial fantasy in a way. I wanted more of them seeing the person behind the persona and being attracted to that version of the other. Especially Nolan. He really only seems to view Bee as a sex celebrity that he can bone. Not a woman that he wants to have a relationship with. Again, it just felt like a fantasy and he was obsessed with her. And I didn't really like it. Also, his thing is that he needs this job to work out so he can get health insurance and help pay his mom's bills and for her medical insurance because his mom has bipolar disorder and is going through some stuff. He also has to take care of his younger sister. Yet he is paying for the highest tier of Bee's content. So not saying that he can't have his little pleasures, but don't make it sound like he's $10 away from not being able to pay their water bill, yet he could be shelling out $100 a month to see Bee's boobies. Make it make sense. Now, a good thing is I did really like the rep in this, again, for the most part. I don't think Nolan's mom's rep of her illness was really well done, because it basically kind of seems like she becomes incompetent. But the other rep I really did like. There are several bi characters, Bee is a plus-size girl, and there's no shaming anyone for expressing their sexualities. And I really liked that. I also really loved how supportive their families were, especially Bee's moms. They knew what their daughter did. It sounds like they kind of hide it from grandparents, which is fair. But her moms definitely were in on it. They knew what she was doing and they supported her as long as she was safe with everything that she was doing and just being smart about her career. I really liked that. But kind of like Nolan's mom, I do wish we'd toned down the commentary on B being a big girl. Like, we get it. I don't need you to hold my hand. It felt like she was constantly talking about how big she was. And, like, I can relate. I was a bigger kid. And I would think about, like, my size in terms of clothes fitting, or, like, yeah, I can't just borrow a friend's pair of jeans or something because they're obviously not going to fit me. But it's kind of a constant loop in B's head when it really felt like she didn't care about a lot of that stuff. Like, it really should have just been B's a plus size girl, but she's still just a person living her life. Instead, it's just, oh, she's big, and I didn't need to be beaten over the head with it constantly. Like, again, she can be plus size, but still just a normal person living her. Well, I guess she's not really normal since she works in adult entertainment, but she can still just be living her life as a bigger woman. If we're gonna go that route, like, say it, we know it, we can move on with the rest of the story and watch her fall in lust, because I don't really think this is love. I think a big detractor for this was the pacing. Like, it feels like the plot is basically just, like, doing this the entire story because we keep repeating the same things over and over and over and over and over again. Like, Nolan is doing this for his family. B needs to keep her other persona under wraps. And around and around and around and around we go. It really slowed the story down, as we know what the stakes are. There is no need to constantly remind us in each person's chapter that Nolan's doing this for his mom and his sister. B is doing this so she can become an actress. Nolan is doing this for his mom and his sister. B is doing this because she wants to be an actress. It's over 400 pages when this book does not need to be that. Like, had you established that in the beginning and then just cut it out and only brought it up, like, when shit starts to hit the fan, it would have been a lot more effective. But it just really slows the story down and kind of makes me feel like an idiot, because I'm like, I understand. I know why they're doing this. Like, can we just move the story along? It also felt like there was very little time spent on them actually making this Christmas movie. Like, this is supposed to be kind of like a Christmassy read. But we spent more time with B taking pictures for her OnlyFans, or I guess, what is it called? It's not called Closed Doors, but that's basically OnlyFans. Then we spend more time with Nolan calling his mom and his sister. And of course, lots and lots and lots of spicy scenes. Now, there's a spicy scene near the end that made me laugh because it was so melodramatic. Like, they're filming a wedding scene for the movie, and then they sneak off to bang on set and do it while she's in her wedding dress. And they're both thinking about, like, how they want to do this for real, and, like, marriage, and what would that look like for them. And, oh, B is thinking, like, oh, I never expected to see myself in a wedding dress. And he's thinking, like, oh my God, I get to see B in this wedding dress. You've known each other a week. Let's calm down a little bit. You have plenty of time to get to the altar. Christ. But yeah, for a book with, like, a pretty cutesy little, like, cartoony cover, the spicy scenes in this are very explicit. And that just feels like the basis of their relationship. They are both always ready and hot to go to hook up and sneak back to their rooms. And they're also way over sexualized in a way. Like, they're constantly making sexual innuendos, taking care of business themselves, if you know what I mean, and thinking about the other, or actually just doing the dirty. It's just relations. It kind of read like a teenager mentality in a way, like everything is about sex. But I wanted to understand why they actually like each other, why they're both already thinking about long-term commitments. They barely talk besides dirty talk and joking and making sexual innuendos, and yet they think that this is like this great love. I just wasn't sold on it. I don't know, besides the physical, what they really love about each other. I honestly almost wish, like, the story was in reverse. Like, Nolan had been a Hallmarky Christmas star that, had some sort of scandal. And so now he is getting into adult entertainment to make money. And she was helping him get more comfortable and shoot his first movie. And like the body doubles from Love Actually, they actually talk and flirt and realize that they like each other. You know it's not great when the couple that has like 10 minutes of screen time from Love Actually, where they're simulating the devil's tango, is a better love story than this 400-page book. Now, of course, in the end, it comes to light that B is an adult entertainer, and Nolan's agent basically tells him that to save his reputation, he has to say that he had no idea who she was and that he was just there to do his job. So he basically has to throw her under the bus. Mind you, they have both been saying that they need to keep this relationship hush-hush for both of their sakes. But B is crushed when he does this. And he does say that, like, oh, I didn't know, and I'm just an innocent bystander in all of this. But then, like, 2 pages later, he realizes, like, no, he loves her, and he wants to protect her, so he's gonna make a stand. Even though it turns out that she kind of doesn't need protecting. Like, people are kind of loving that she has this multifaceted career. It's not as scandalous as they expected. Now, there are groups that are outraged that this off-brand Hallmark channel would allow a woman of her caliber to star in their holiday films, like Clutch Your Pearls ladies. But there are also groups outside the Hope Channel's like target demographic that are now going to be tuning in because of B. So it just, I don't know. Again, the more I think about it, I wish it had been more of like the reverse of him having to learn how to do this. So I think another big detractor of this is the writing style. It kind of felt YA when I think like the characters are mid to late 20s, maybe even early to mid 30s. I think Nolan might almost be like 35 or something. I mean, don't quote me on that. But the dialogue felt really off. And their inner thoughts, again, they're just so monotonous and repetitious. I was really struggling with the writing style and just the slow pacing, and I kind of just started skimming near the end just to be done with this. Because again, it's over 400 pages when it really shouldn't be. So I'm going to go on a quick rant that... that doesn't really matter to the story, but it really bugged me. So there's a plot point in this about Nolan doing some naughty things at the Duluth Olympics. Duluth? Do you know how fucking cold it gets in Duluth? I mean, like, all of Minnesota becomes a frozen hellscape during the winter, and I can say this as I spent the first, 21 years of my life there. So I grant you, on the one hand, it would be very good for winter sports, but it's also Duluth. Like, when you have cities like Paris and LA hosting the games, I fail to see how Duluth was ever a real contender. And again, I say this as a former Minnesotan. I will say Duluth is very pretty in the summer and in the fall, and it is a charming city. But is it Olympics worthy? I mean, apparently it actually did make a bid for them in 1932, but Duluth? I mean, do I need to bust out my Minnesotan accent here so we could talk about this for a few minutes? I can get some tater tot hot dish in the oven, and we can go up north, we can go fishing, and oh, for cute, oh, do you really want to talk about this? And oh yeah, you betcha, this opens the door for another quick rant. This whole subplot and dark mark on Nolan's history with an event that happened at the Duluth Olympics. So basically he was photographed carrying a figure skater out of her hotel room, and I think either she's naked or wrapped in a towel or something, and it seems like she was having some sort of overdose and an orgy situation. He nor she have ever talked to the press about it. But Nolan finally decides to talk because he's trying to navigate this whole bee situation and avoid another scandal. And it's not what it seems. He is very innocent in all of this. So essentially the figure skater, I can't even be asked to remember her own name, she was having a grand old time with 2 other guys in her room, and then came down with a bad case of food poisoning and called Nolan for help, as she didn't really want to face the shame of calling her coach and explaining the situation and having him see her like sex plates. So Nolan rescues her and takes her to the hospital. And from his point of view, he didn't really care that the press tries to make it seem like he was in on the action happening in the hotel room, because he kind of doesn't care. But food poisoning? Food poisoning? Like, she never went to the press herself to clear his name and just explain, like, yeah, I got sick. Like, this is what happened that night. But to bring it full circle, she got food poisoning from eating tuna tartare in Michigan. Michigan. I know the Midwest states can be somewhat interchangeable, but Duluth, where these Olympics were set, is in Minnesota. Duluth is not in Michigan. Unless they took a boat to Michigan or drove 2 hours one way and then 2 hours back just to get this tuna tartare dinner, she did not eat her dinner in Michigan. They are different states. We are separated by a body of water and the state of Wisconsin. Like, was this that hard to Google, ladies? There were 2 of you. One of you could have looked this up. Geez Louise. And I know that it is only there so that we can show that Nolan is this bad boy with a heart of gold. But this whole thing should have been cleared up years ago. This shouldn't even be a subplot. Like, again, either commit and make him this bad boy that was a part of this whole thing, or it was so stupid. The last thing that's kind of stupid about this is the name. There's no meet cute that happens in this book. Like, I also have to say, even the Christmas elements should have been really cute, but they're kind of barely there. Like, everything in this Christmas Notch town where they filmed is like a reference to Christmas or has like a punny name, but the Christmas vibes in this were kind of lacking. In the end, I gave this 2.5 stars. It was a unique premise, it was a cool representation, and something different than what I normally read. But my god, was this too long and too slow and too twee, but also too sexual in some regards. It felt like it was kind of having an identity crisis. And again, I really didn't like that their romance was really just like lust and physical. Like, for me to believe the romance, I have to understand, like, mentally, spiritually, like, why these people are connected on a deeper level rather than just, like, I like your bod, you want to hang out? And if that's... It's almost like either let the story just be about them hooking up, but don't sell it as, like, this grand romance, or actually commit and then show me the grand romance. Because, again, this should not have been more than 400 pages. There was not enough substance. And cut a few spicy scenes and cut the inner monologues of them just repeating why they're doing this, because we already know. We already know. All right, I'm thinking ahead to next Christmas. If you have any recommendations for charming Christmas reads, at this point, I don't even care if they're romances. I don't care if they're just Christmas stories that you absolutely love. Please leave your recommendations in the comments below so I can look forward to something next Christmas. Otherwise, thanks for joining me for Wine Club.